Why did I move here? I guess it was the weather. Or I don't know, that thing, that magic. You see it in the movies. I wanted to retire from what I was doing, From that line of work. Be a good guy for once, a family man. So, I bought a big house, came here, put my feet up, and thought I'd be a dad like all the other dads. My kids would be like the kids on TV. We'd play ball and sit in the sun, but, well, you know how it is.
Grand Theft Auto 5 is an action-adventure video game released in 2013, developed by Rockstar North and published by Rockstar Games. The single-story campaign mode follows 3 criminals and their committing of heist and general crimes. However, GTA 5 also has an open-world multiplayer component that allows players to live a life that's based on a simulation, similar to the Sims series. Players can buy a home, buy expensive vehicles, race each other, murder each other, even go to a strip club. It's a world of infinite possibilities. Grand Theft Auto 5 is one of the most financially successful entertainment products of all time, breaking industry records and currently holding $6 billion in revenue with 90 million units sold. GTA 5 was released to critical acclaim. The reason for GTA 5's success is multi-dimensional, but it was advertised very well, and the game itself is enshrouded in realism. It feels real. People could live through the game, similar to that of virtual reality. The idea of inclusivity is well drawn out from within the game. The story mode revolves around 3 men, all from different social economic classes. The online mode allows for full customization of characters and even allows for players to get a sex change within the game. The city of Los Santos in GTA 5 is also very diverse, and the game sticks to that truth. The target market for GTA 5 was young adult men ages 17 and above, but its content and widespread accessibility led it to be played by younger children and older men as well. It's important to note that Grand Theft Auto 5 was created by a large video game developing company. Enter Anna Anthropy, an American video game designer and video game critic / author and faculty of DePaul University's College of Computing and Digital Media. Anthropy has a problem with video games, she states in Chapter 1 of her book titled Rise of the Video Game Designers, published in the year 2012. Her problem as a queer woman is that there is a lack of mainstream video games developed by large video game developers and companies that include, portray, or tell stories of queer people, which includes the LGBT community. In other words, video games lack queer representation. She mentions video games are mostly about men shooting other men in the face, or even women shooting men in the face. This is true as 27.5% of video games sold in the US in the year 2016 were shooter games. Even in games where women are protagonists, such as Metroid and Mortal Kombat, almost all of the games include at least some form of violence. What Anna mainly desires is for video game creation to be open to everyone, not just programmers. She wants game creation to be decentralized. And quite frankly, I agree. Like Anna, I believe video games are indeed a form of art, a culmination of ideas coming together to form a unique experience that individuals can experience on their own or with a group. Video games are a marvel of human cooperation. Similar to films, video games tell stories. They invite players to live an experience curated by people who are passionate about sharing a vision. Anthropy mentions that smaller games with smaller budgets and smaller audiences have the luxury of being more experimental, whereas larger video game companies with large audiences are not as free to take risks. This leads to individually developed video games being more creative. The problem or situation is that large video game developers are fixated solely on profit, and this often leads to the release of similar games without much advancement to the stories they tell, such as the Call of Duty series. A 2017 survey conducted by the International Game Developers Association showed that the video game developing industry consisted of 61% of people who identified as white, 18% of people who identified as East/Southeast Asian, 5% of people who identified as Hispanic or Latino, and 1% of people identified as Black. 42% of respondents were from the United States. In terms of gender, 74% were male and 21% were female. 2% identified as male to female transgender, 1% identified as female to male transgender, and 2% identified as other. Anthropy's solution to more diverse and nuanced games is to open game creation to people of different backgrounds, as opposed to young white college-educated men. I believe this is a viable solution. However, I have questions that I do not have the answers to. Will increasing diversity in major game developing studios change the stories we actually see in video games? Will video game corporations stop being motivated by money and change their focus to social cultivation and the total advancement of video game as an art? Why is there a lack of representation, both ethnically and genderly, in the video game industry? While I do not have the answers to these questions, I would like to see a change in the types of stories we see in video games. Even though I am a huge fan of shooters, I'd like to be able to enjoy other experiences as well. Although GTA 5 is not produced by an independent company, it envelops many of the positive traits in video games that Anthropy mentions. While she may not favor the game, GTA 5 gives players the freedom to do as they please through the power of Rockstar. Players are given power in an open world to be themselves and be free of society's unwritten laws. The game is inclusive in that it allows people to create their own story, their own friends, and their own future. The game industry has already started changing, and I'm hopeful, like Anna, that one day video games will be appreciated for sophisticated forms of art and will be more enjoyable than they already are. With a range of stories told from people of a range of backgrounds, and with the video game industry still in its infancy, I believe the future of diverse stories in video games is very likely, and I am very hopeful.